Today I'm going to be making a card, but I haven't made the card beforehand. I'm actually going to be making this up as I go along because I wanted to show you the process that I go through. I do actually have a plan in mind, but as always, my plans tend to go awry. The one thing that I do know is that I wanted to use this embossing folder. It's the fir tree or pine needles from the wintry set. There are two in the set. Now they're only narrow. I will get it for you in a moment and show it to you. They're only narrow, so it doesn't emboss a whole panel. So I knew I just wanted to emboss the bottom half. I also thought that I wanted to use this lovely paper. I haven't used it this side of it at all, but I have used this one. And so I wanted to make sure that I did use this. I love the colourings and that in this one. It comes from the Painted Christmas Designer Series paper. And this has been my go-to for Christmas this year. I absolutely love it, particularly these pine cone ones. So an evening evergreen card base, this piece of Designer Series paper with just a very small mat, and then this piece of embossed basic white cardstock. And that's sort of where I started. Now I was thinking that I would then use some of the matching images, this one and this one from the paper, and stamp here and then put my greeting across here, sort of like this. But when I sat down, I found at my craft table, I found this piece of soft succulent, which goes back beautifully. This was sort of an offcut from another card I made, sitting on my table. I thought, oh, that looks nice. And so then I played around with bringing some more of the paper to the front and just putting the greeting. Perhaps even some pine cones cut out from the sparkly paper. But what I didn't like was, I just thought it was a little bit out of balance. I just wanted to make sure that the edge of the embossing was covered. So that was one option. Then I saw these lovely little trees in garden green that I'd cut from, bit punched. And I thought, well, that could go there, and then this could go here. And that looks really good too. You might even sort of sponge the background here to sort of match the paper behind. So I really quite like that too. And then I did stamp and die cut a couple of sprigs from this set, the ones that match the background. And then I thought, well, I could just do this, perhaps with a bow. So I really didn't quite know what to do. Less is more, as they say, but I think I'm going to go back to my original idea and I'm going to do some stamping as well. I've cleared my workspace. I have my Stampin' Pierce mat because it will help with the impressions on the photopolymer stamps. I have the envelope as well as the inside of the card so that they can all be stamped at the same time. So I'll put them to the side. So I'm going to put my piece of paper, embossed paper down. Just cover that up just to be 100% sure that none of the stamping actually goes onto my embossing. I do have the two colours, the Garden Green and the Evergreen Evening. I think I'll start with this one, an Evergreen Evening. No, Garden Green. Here we go. Now I was just thinking this is going to go up a bit, so I need to make sure that my stamping is up. And I always like some of the stamping to go off the side. And then we might do, oh, now I was going to second generation stamp that, but see how I've got extra colour here? So that actually would leave a different mark on those leaves. So just be careful of that. I need to clean that off and do it again. So I've brought in another piece of scrap paper so that I can stamp that off, and you'll see the whole image is now the one shade, and I'll give that a second generation stamp over here. Might need one more of those. Perhaps up here. This is really a little bit of guesswork. And yes, that's all right for a second generation. So we'll just do one like that. Okay, let's bring in our little piece of paper. Oh yes, that's looking okay. It's enough peeking above it. So let's pop that colour away and we'll get the other colour, which is Evening Evergreen, and this little stamp. Now, remembering that we probably need to be up a bit further. Okay, let's bring this in. Oh yes, I don't think we need any more than that. So if we take this piece of paper away, we put this back in here. Oh, that's actually looking very good. And then I'm going to put this here, this little greeting. So I'm thinking that just to tie a little bit of real red in, see how in the back of the paper it's got all the dots? Now I could do them in Evening Evergreen or Garden Green, but I think just to tie back in with the greeting, I'm just going to put a few of the dots in amongst, not too many, we don't, I tend to work in threes or odd numbers, so let's just go with 3. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. But before we put the inks away, we will stamp the panel for the inside of the envelope. So in the Garden Green, I'll do the larger stamp there and on the envelope. And the other little piece of foliage in the Evening Evergreen, and it can sort of go line up there. Stems, And I think I will just put a little dash of red as well. I think that's all that needs. Okay, so our envelope and inside panel are done. I'll just clean up and we'll come back and put the card together. So let's start with the inside panel. A little bit of glue on that. Okay, nice even margin. Then we'll put on our designer piece of paper. Okay, now we've got our embossed and stamped piece of paper. Now, I'll just show you this before I put this down. This is the actual embossing folder. So if you emboss with the Stampin' Up symbol up, you will get an embossed impression. But if you stamp it from the other side, or emboss it from the other side, you get a deboss. Both of them are really pretty. But this is the wintry set of embossing folders, the one with the pine boughs and the one with the snow flurries and snowflakes. I haven't used this one yet and probably won't, because I don't tend to do snowy Christmas theme at all. So, but I had to have this one and I've used it a lot. So a little bit of glue on here. Don't know why glue is not running. Okay. Now, I just want to decide whether I'm going to have this going from there to there. Yes, I think I will. So that measurement was 4 inches. So I'm just going to cut this one down to 4. And so that should cover there to there. And then this here. Now, next decision, before I put that down, am I going to put these ones underneath here as well? Decisions. I think I might. So I've glued these together and then I've glued them onto the background, just with the stems just slightly above the embossed piece. And put a bit of glue on the back of here and put this in place. You can check that you're straight by lining your card up and checking that you're with your grid pad behind to make sure you've got your piece nice and straight. Okay, and then the final thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this up on dimensionals and put it onto the piece of glittery paper. Now this bedazzling paper is no longer available. It is a retired celebration item. I have quite a few pieces of it, so I'm going to use it up. But I do know that a lot of you do have it. So it just adds a nice little bit of interest to an otherwise quite flat in terms of the stamping in that card. So I'm going to put this down towards the bottom and over where the pieces are coming out of, so that they all sort of look like they're grounded with that. Not sure that's straight. No, not. That's better. And of course, you all know what I'm going to do next. Of course, some red rhinestones in the little rounded ends of our greeting. Okay, so I think we're done. We have an envelope and the card with a matching panel inside. Pretty happy with that. It did come together how I had in my mind, although I did have to go through trialing lots of other things before I was convinced. I still might use all of these pieces on other cards. Stay tuned, I'll show you if I do. So that's it for today, ladies. I hope you enjoyed that one. And I will be back, not next week. Next week, I have a very busy weekend. We're back at the Point Lonsdale Market, so I won't be able to, I just won't have time to get a video done next week. So I'll be back in a couple of weeks' time with another video for you. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.